Brother John, do you mind saying the white mic? Okay, there it is. Okay. I'm not going to start with a joke today just because I want to get right to the message because I don't want to get caught by time again. So, is that okay with everyone? No. Not that it matters, I'm going with the mic, right? So, today, the verse that I'm going to use is 1 Chronicles chapter 21. I'm going to start in verse 9, and we're going to read a little bit. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Gad, David's seer, saying, Go and tell David, saying, Thus saith the Lord, I offer thee 3 things. Choose thee one of them, that I may do it unto thee. So Gad came to David and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, choose thee." Now, before I even get into the 3 things that God is asking David to choose from, you need to understand something, which is that these are not blessings, okay? These are punishments. Whatever Gad is about to say is bad. All of them, all 3 of them, very bad. Not good things that you ever want in your life. And if you read just a little bit before, verse 9, like 5, 6, it talks about Israel is already being inflicted. David did some sin that I actually don't know, sorry. David did some sin and God is punishing Israel already. David falls on his face before God and says, God, I'm sorry. So God says, okay, I'm going to give you a choice. You got 3 things. All of them bad, very bad. Okay. This is the 3 things that God asked David to choose from. It says, either 3 years famine. Now, obviously this is not the best thing in the world, but famine is something that's almost become commonplace in Israel. I feel like every great miracle in Israel happened between famines. Like there's a 3-year famine every 3 years in Israel. I mean, it's not the greatest thing that happened to them, but it's not exactly the worst. Been through it before, though. Yeah. I mean, it is a punishment, yes. But is it something they can handle and have handled? Yes. Yeah. Let's go to the next one. 3 years famine, or 3 months to be destroyed before thy foes, while that the sword of thine enemies overtake thee. Okay, a little worse, right? Not exactly 3 years, but 3 months of being defeated, right? Just enemies coming in and destroying you. I can only imagine slavery is probably a part of this. And again, something that the Israelites have kind of been through before, in and out of slavery type of deal. Worse than famine, probably, right? If we're looking at a scale here, but something that they have handled before, can handle, yes. Let's look at the 3rd one. This is where it gets exciting, right? Because then he says, or else 3 days the sword of the Lord, even the pestilence in the land, and the angel of the Lord, destroying throughout all the coast of Israel. So he says, you had 3 years of famine. That's bad. 3 years of being overtaken by your enemies, slavery, being defeated. That's a little worse. Then he says, or you can have 3 days of everything that I can possibly throw at you, right? If you can last these 3 days, then you're close to God, okay? Because I'm going to throw everything that I can possibly have at you. For 3 days, I'm going to decimate you. Pestilence, angel of the Lord. I mean, horrible 3 days. If I'm David, I'm probably going with famine. Right? I'm leaning to A or B, right? Because C sounds horrible. I don't want to face 1 day full of God's judgment from, 12 midnight to 12 midnight of the next day. God constantly, just barrage of, I don't know, horrible, unimaginable things I can only think, right? I don't want even 1 day of that. And he said 3 days. Well, let's see what David said. Jump down to verse 13. And David said unto Gad, I am in a great strait. I have a tough decision to make. Let me fall now into the hand of the Lord, for very great are his mercies. But let me not fall into the hand of man. Amen. He said, give me C. Out of all the choices that he could have picked, right? Even 3 years famine seems better than 3 days of God crushing you. And he said, give me the Lord, because I'd rather fall into the hands of the Lord than into the hands of men. He's saying, God, give me your worst, because as long as it's you, I don't care. If it's men's swords, men's famine, I don't want any of that. You can give me your worst. Give me heaven's worst over anything that man can throw at me.
Man, that's good.
God is saying that, or God, David is saying that any problem given by God, I can handle because his mercies are great. Even 3 days of heaven's worst is more merciful than anything that man could do to me. For his mercies are great. Forgive me, deliver me into the hand of my Lord. Let me let you in on a little secret though. All of your problems are given by God. It didn't matter if you picked 3 years famine, 3 months of war, it all would have been by God. This is all in God's hands. Okay? And every problem that you face every single day is given by God. You may not face 3 days chock full of the worst things that can happen to you on a daily basis, but if you realize that even through the hard times, his mercies are still better than anything that man could give you. Because the people of this earth don't care about you. That's just truth, right? Your boss doesn't care about you. You're a statistic. You're a number. We all fall into some category, right? The people of, the number of Baptists in San Antonio. That's the number that we fall into. And when they take that national census, right, whatever, every 4 years I think it is, they're not looking at how many Robert Jimenez's there are in San Antonio. How many, Mexicans are on the south side? That's what they're looking at. How many people in San Antonio still go to an independent, they don't care about who you are. They care about what you do, what you are. God, even at his worst, his mercies are better than anything that the world can throw at you. And every single problem that you go through is given by God. It's in God's hands. You're delivered into the hands of the Lord every day, good or bad. I believe the best example would be Job, right? Because the devil comes in and it's not like the devil went and, knocked down his house, killed all his kids, took all his animals, and then God's up in heaven like, oh, wait, what happened? Is that Job? The devil went to God. God stamped it. Said, okay, you do what you need to do. Right? So,